Well, let's talk to David Buick. He's markets commentator at Aquis Exchange and joins us now. Good morning to you, David.
Morning, Empress.
Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Let's talk about the economy generally. We got the latest inflation figures. And yesterday, the economists were predicting that the consumer price index figures coming out today would see a slight rise in inflation, perhaps above 7% in August because of the oil price rise. But in fact, it's fallen down from 6.8 to 6.7%. That's good news, right?
It is good news, definitely, because most people, including myself, thought that when you see the price of crude oil going up from $72 a barrel on the 20th of June up to $95 yesterday, $93 today, with all the signs that it might even go to $100 by the end of the autumn. I think, this is really good news. And the reason, apparently, why we've seen this figure come down is food and accommodation services. So food prices apparently have dramatically cut in the course of the last week. I mean, for most economists to say inflation or CPI would be at 7%, having been at 6.8 last month, to get it down to 6.7, in my opinion, is a right royal result. And I think probably Rishi Sunak and Jeremy Hunt will be absolutely delighted.
Oh, relieved. I think relieved is the word. Now, is this down to, say, supermarkets competing with each other and actually realising there was quite a lot of bad press? I thought some of it rather unfair, claiming they were profiteering when their profit margins are very, very low compared to most other businesses. They're a bulk business rather than a high profit margin business. But an idea that basically shoppers were not going to put up with higher prices and therefore that was going to push it down? Or was it just the oil price, the gas price shock, the fertiliser price issue, the sunflower oil, all of that from the Ukraine war? Has that now fed through the system and out the other side?
I think it's a combination of both, to be honest with you. I mean, I think food prices now, because we've got the summer months, Julia, they do tend to come down. There seems to be stuff in much more limited supply. And I think that's very, very encouraging. But we aren't through, the hoop completely. And I think we've got quite a lot of things to worry ourselves about during the course of the next 3 or 4 months. I'm still very concerned about the price of oil because I do think, even though we've had a blip downwards, Saudi Arabia and Russia are really calling the tune at the moment. Yeah. And this, with the possibility of energy prices going up also at the end of the year, is very interesting. But the most important thing is this poses a conundrum for Andrew Bailey and the MPC on Thursday. I hope to God that they leave rates at 5.25% because we've really had enough. And I don't think another hike in the current climate is really going to do us any good.
Well, indeed, 500,000 people around Christmas, it's reported yesterday, are going to come off their fixed-rate mortgages. That's going to be a real shock for a lot of families when they just suddenly see their fixed rate go whoosh much, much higher. And that is a real concern, I mean, for them and indeed for the economy generally and the government. But there had been this view, hadn't there, that the Bank of England, carried on printing money, acted too late raising interest rates from the historically low, 0.25%, and then have carried on raising them too much, and actually they're just they're feeding in basically downturn pressures on the economy rather than pressures for growth.
Absolutely right. And I think this has really got to be filled through. I mean, there was a very interesting comment made also by Andy Haldane, who's now the chief executive of the Royal Society, the former chief economist from the Bank of England, who says there are something like 8 million people who could be employed and it's costing the 35 to 50-year-olds a lot more in taxation. Yeah. And this is one of the kind of thing that we need to get ironed out.
Can I ask you also about the NHS strikes today? We know there's always a massive cost to strike days. The organisation, the reorganisation of the appointments. I mean, talk about £1 billion cost to the NHS. There's also a big hit to the economy of people who've been waiting for an operation to get back to work, to be back on in full steam, waiting for treatments. That long issue we've got in terms of a rising population who came to be incapacitated or disabled or sick. There are many people who are absolutely genuine, and many people who say, we need to get you some NHS treatment and get you back to work. Do you think that the economic cost of these ongoing strikes really hasn't been recognised by many politicians yet?
I don't think it has. And I think the other thing is it doesn't matter what side you're, whether you're a militant member of the BMA, whether you're a member of the government, no conversation is ridiculous. And this conversation of 35% is in a no-go area. The doctors know it, everybody else knows it. But something has to be worked out over a 3 to 5 year period. We can't go on past with people just folding their arms saying, I'm not going to talk to you, you're being unreasonable, the rest of it, both say they have to talk. And the sooner they get on with do it and work out something that is palatable for both sides, even if it's over a 3 to 5 year period, so be it.
Indeed. David Buick, always good to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed for that.